Hello, thank you so much for joining us today to learn about our data challenge, Fire Ready Forests. The data challenge is hosted by the ProWESS Center on the National Data Platform in partnership with the Wildfire Commons. I'm Melissa Floca, and I'm joined today by Pedro Ramonetti, and we're going to give you some information about how to participate. As background, the focus of this challenge is next generation 3D vegetation and fire models, because these models enable fire managers to have new solutions that expand their toolbox beyond just reactive wildfire suppression. For example, prescribed burns are one important approach to improving forest health and resilience, and the burn bosses who plan and implement these projects rely largely on their own experience to select appropriate conditions and ignitions for their burns. However, new models allow fire practitioners to simulate fires under different conditions. They're combining mostly two-dimensional data and then using the Fast Fuels platform, which we'll introduce to you, to engage in sophisticated modeling that creates high-resolution 3D fuels. Because the fuel beds and forest structure are then used as inputs to fire models. And we'll also show you some of the fire modeling that we do with these vegetation models. The fire models are very special because they're high resolution, and they're also coupled fire atmospheric models. So they're producing the kinds of dynamics around the underlying physics that drive fire behavior. These physics-based fire models need to have very high-quality data about the density and distribution of vegetation to produce accurate results, because in a fire, it's the vegetation that's burning. These inputs include things like the height and diameter of trees, the species, their locations, and gathering this highly accurate data at scale is expensive and labor-intensive. So your data challenge is to enhance machine learning methodologies for site-specific predictions of tree species, height, location, and other critical metrics that help improve the ability of these 3D physics-based fire models to accurately predict fire behavior and effects. Before Pedro dives into the onboarding to the platform where you'll complete the data challenge and the information about the deadlines and other relevant details of how to participate, I want to show you some visualizations of the kind of data that you'll be using when you're solving the challenge. This is a really interesting spatio-temporal data challenge that is multi-scale because we have satellite imagery, we have aerial LiDAR imagery, we have terrestrial LiDAR imagery, we also have vegetation plots, and all of these different plots can be either pre or post-fire. They can be recent, they could have been taken a long time ago, and they're at very different resolutions, many of which are different from the resolutions of the underlying models that we use. So just to take a look at some of the kinds of data that you'll be using, you'll start by using landfire satellite data. This is a two-dimensional model that's derived from the satellite data itself at a 30-meter resolution. And this is that same data set on top of the topography here in Independence Lake. So as you can see, definitely does not look like trees. We then have approaches to take that data along with forest inventory analysis plots and tree map data and turn it into voxelized 3D vegetation models using Fast Fuels. You're looking at that model here. It's in 3 dimensions and at a 1-meter resolution at the same location that we were showing you previously. And then you can go down to the tree by tree basis, looking at species, and here you can understand the 3-dimensional structure of the Fast Fuels data. But you can also improve that data. What you see now is an on-ramp of aerial LiDAR and veg plot data, which is making it much more realistic. You can see there's a depression where there aren't any trees that the data now understands. And then we also have terrestrial LiDAR data, which is some of the data you see there in the lighter colors, the white and the blue colors in the middle. That data is much more high resolution than the aerial LiDAR data, which are the green points that you're seeing also in the same visualization. And as you continue to zoom into the terrestrial LiDAR data, which in some cases is very, very high resolution, down to about a 1 centimeter resolution, this almost looks like actual representations of trees, but it's a point cloud. You can see the points here. And so what you're looking at is millions and millions of points taken from a terrestrial LiDAR scanner. And this again is just that same data visualized from a human point of view. All of this goes into our fire models, which again understand both the vegetation conditions, but also the atmospheric conditions. You can see the winds in the model visualized here. And all of that then creates simulations of fires. And I'll show you just a quick video of one of those simulations of a burn. And here, all of the kinds of data that you were looking at before is being used as inputs to this fire model that you're watching now, the outputs of the fire model that you're looking at now. And so your work through the data challenge is going to help us improve the vegetation model inputs that then are used in fire models to produce these kinds of outputs, primarily for prescribed burn applications, but also for related ecosystem monitoring.
Thank you very much, Melissa, for this intro to the data challenge. Now, let me talk about the schedule of the challenge. First, the enrollment. Teams must join the data challenge by no later than Sunday, March the 2nd of this year. Teams must consist of at least 3 members. All team members must be registered with the National Data Platform, which is the main platform that you will use to work on this data challenge. Otherwise, attempting to enter a non-registered email with NDP will result in an error. Registration must be completed using an academic email. This means your university's domain email. Failure to provide an academic email will result in denial of access to computing resources, and no participant can be part of more than one team. The sprints. The data challenge consists of 4 sprints, each with a specific task to complete. The tasks for each sprint will be detailed in the descriptions and instructions provided with the corresponding modules, and I'm going to talk about modules in a little bit. The release dates for these sprints are the following. Sprint 1 will be released on February 21st at 12 p.m. Pacific time. Sprint 2 on February 28th at the same time. Sprint 3 on March 7th at the same time. And finally, Sprint 4 on March 31st at the same time. The office hours. Participants will have the opportunity to join us for snacks and office hours during the data challenge. As you will notice, the office hours will be hosted in the same dates in which each of the sprints is released. So it's very important for participants to attend these in-person office hours so they can clarify any questions or doubts that they have about the tasks that they have to complete during each of the sprints. Also, we will be offering online office hours on Zoom, which are going to be available by request via Calendly, and the link is available in these slides. The final deliverable and judging. Each team can request feedback or assistance on sprints 1 to 3 deliverables during the office hours. They will be submitted at the end of the challenge. The final deliverables from sprint 4 will be evaluated by a panel of judges against a set of criteria. Selected teams will be invited to continue to develop their solution during a formal 60-hour internship at the San Diego Supercomputer Center during the spring quarter. The date for the final deliverable is Sunday, April 13, and the selected winners will be announced on Friday, April 18. If you want to get more information and resources about this data challenge, you can start by going to the main National Data Platform site. The link is in these slides, nationaldataplatform.org. You will log into the platform, go to Education Hub, go to Explore, and open the Fire Ready Forest Data Challenge. I will talk more about this process in a little bit. You can also access this the ProWESS Center's main site, which contains more information about this data challenge. And if you have any additional question that has not been addressed in this webinar or in the publications, you can email me at pramonettivega@ucsd.edu. To start onboarding yourself with the National Data Platform, you can go to the National Data Platform documentation. The link is provided in these slides. And all the participants are also encouraged to go through the onboarding challenge prior to joining the Fire Ready Forest Data Challenge. This onboarding challenge is designed to familiarize Data Challenge participants with the user experience of NDP's Education Hub. To join this onboarding challenge, you will log into the platform, go to the Education Hub, go to the Explore page, and join the onboarding challenge with at least one partner. And I will talk a little bit more about it in a few seconds. So the following slides will show you the onboarding process of NDP, including how to join and start working on the onboarding challenge. The full version of this tutorial can also be downloaded in the provided link. So the onboarding tutorial. Once you access the National Data Platform main site, the first thing that you will do will be to log in. And to do that, you will click on this button in the upper right corner. Then you will select CI Logon. Click on this drop-down menu. And you will type and search for your university. Do not select a commercial email provider like Google. Otherwise, you won't get access to Jupyter Hub or any computing resource in general. Once you select your university, click on the Remember the Selection checkbox and click on Log On. You will be redirected to your university's authentication system, so you will have to enter your credentials as you will typically do. As a note, if this is your first time logging into NDP, you will be asked to confirm your name and your email as part of your registration. Once you access NDP, you will be transferred to your dashboard. So the first thing you will do will be to click on Education Hub, followed by the Learner Portal. And the Learner Portal is where your classrooms and data challenges appear. At this point, since you are new users, you will have no classrooms or data challenges. You will click on Explore at the top, and you will be able to search for the different data challenges open on NDP. In this onboarding, I will invite you to identify and open the onboarding challenge. You will read all the information associated to this onboarding challenge. And once you have read all the relevant information, you will click on Join Challenge and enter your team name and the members of your team. For this onboarding challenge, you have to join with at least one partner who doesn't strictly has to be one of your team members of the Fire Ready Forest Data Challenge. But it's important to join with at least one partner so you both get the experience of working collaboratively on NDP. So after assigning a name to your team, you will enter the emails of your team members separated by a comma and without leaving any spaces. If you enter a non-valid email or an email that has not been previously registered on NDP, you will get this error. And if you enter an email that is already part of the onboarding challenge, you will get this error message. Once you join the onboarding challenge, you will notice that you will have one onboarding module at the bottom of your team page. A module is a collection of instructions, data, and code with a specific task to complete. Through the data challenge, you will be assigned to different modules in each of these sprints, and each of these modules will tell you exactly which task and deliverables you are expected to complete before the end of the challenge. So once you get your onboarding module inside of the onboarding challenge, you will click on View and always read modules carefully, because each of the modules will come with a set of instructions that will tell you how are you supposed to, number one, reserve your Jupyter Hub server computing resources. Number two, clone the attached repository if provided. Number 3, install the dependencies associated to your module. And number 4, how to download your data to Jupyter Hub. Once you have read the module's instructions carefully, you can go to Jupyter Hub by clicking on the Jupyter Hub button at the bottom of the module. And as you might have noticed, you can also find this button in the cover of each module. Once you click on that button, you will be redirected to the Jupyter Hub service. And in this page, you will set up the computing resources according to the instructions of your module. It is very important to mention that reserving unauthorized resources, such as reserving GPUs without prior authorization, might ban you from the platform for misuse of resources. After setting up your resources, you will click on Start to launch your server. It is possible that you see this message, and this means that your access credentials within Jupyter Hub have expired, especially if this is not the first time that you log in. So to solve this problem, you will simply click on this button at the top right, the logout button, and you will log in again through CI logon. And after you do that, you will be able to start your server normally. You will wait for your server to initiate. This typically takes a few minutes. And once your server initiates, your server will look like this. The first thing to notice on the left side is the NDP widget, and I'm going to talk about it in the next slide. It is very important to mention that the next slides are meant to be informational. So if you have followed along on your site the process that we have been doing so far since we log into NDP, please do not follow along in the platform during the next slides. So like I mentioned, on your left, you will have the NDP widget. This big section is the extension that connects the Jupyter Hub server with the NDP resources. In case that you move to a different section, you can get back to the widget by clicking at this NDP button. When you start your server, by default, you will be placed in the root folder. And if you want to move to a different folder, you click on this button on the top left, the file browser, and then you can move to a different folder. At this point, you will have two folders. The first one corresponds to your user storage, while the second one corresponds to your team's storage. The first folder, the user storage, is the folder that you will use to save your personal work and has 10 gigabytes of storage, while the second one is a shared folder where every team member can see the changes that are made inside of that folder and has a capacity of 5 gigabytes. Files that are not saved on any of these folders will be lost when you stop your server. And some good practices about the shared storage. First, always communicate with your team members about the files that they place or remove from the shared folder, because there is no version control. So if someone makes a change inside of that folder, you won't be able to notice unless the other team member tells you that they have made a change. Do not work on the same file at the same time, or you will run into an overwrite conflict. And the shared storage, like I mentioned, is limited. So use it to share frequently accessed files or data derived from your workflow. In this drop-down menu, you can select the module or workspace you plan to work on. And in this other drop-down menu, you can clone the module's repositories. After cloning the repository, if you move inside the folder associated to that repository, it is possible that the folder contains a requirements file. If that is the case, you can install the libraries listed in by clicking this button, as long as you are inside of the repositories folder, as you will see in the current folder window. The datasets attached to the model appear in this list on your left, and it is important to mention that each record can contain several files. You can select which files you want to download to your current folder and add them by clicking on the button Add Files to Current Folder. Sometimes students are invited to add datasets to their modules. So if that is the case, you can do that by going back to your module page and clicking on this Edit button next to datasets. You can search for a dataset of your interest and add them by clicking on this button, Add on each dataset. And once you do that, you will click on this curved arrow to reload your modules. And that will show the change that you made, the new dataset should appear. So I will stop here. The remaining slides corresponding to the onboarding module with the instructions as they are exactly as they are indicated in the original module page can be found in the appendix of this slide deck or in the tutorial slides for which the link is also provided. So what are the next steps? The next steps for interested participants are to, number one, register to NDP using your academic email. Number two, complete the onboarding challenge with at least one partner. Like I mentioned, this partner doesn't need to be a member of your data challenge team. Then you will have to form and register your team and begin working on Sprint 1 as soon as it is released. So thank you very much for watching this webinar. We are looking forward for your participation in this data challenge, and don't hesitate to share any questions in the email that I shared earlier. So thank you very much, and we will be seeing you soon in our data challenge.